Linamnisi, thank you very much. Live for us here in Durban. A little earlier, you would have heard that he was at court in Pietermaritzburg, Camperdown Magistrates Court to be exact. So let's give you a context now. A comprehensive study conducted by the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, revealing that in 2019, 183 infrastructure or construction projects essentially were hijacked by these so-called construction mafia, and this disrupted work that amounted to about 63 billion worth of these construction projects, and this is now all across the country. But again, let's bring it back to KwaZulu-Natal, because this is where all of this started. In about 2014-2015, the Amadela Ngokubona Business Forum, this is a grouping we understand was formerly based in Umlazi. Alongside them were the KwaMashu Youth in Action movement. These were formed in order to disrupt these projects. And so let's ask then the question, how prevalent is this crime still in this province of KwaZulu-Natal? Joining us for that conversation is Colonel Robert Netshiunda, who joins me now. Colonel, good evening to you, and thank you for your time. Let's begin with the 5 suspects who appeared in court today. You, the police, would have been responsible for arresting these people. And so the question is, how prevalent is this crime, and how serious are the charges faced by those in court?
The charges of extortion are serious charges, because if you extort money from anybody, that means you will use intimidating tactics, and you will stop construction, you will stop service delivery, you will stop business from going on. So charges are serious. As for the crime being prevalent in the province, that will need some analysis. But last year, 2023, we saw at least 46 cases opened, of which we had 21 arrests on them. They are still going to court on various stages. This year, it was a bit quiet from the beginning of the year until March, where we saw a surge that from March to date, we've got 20 cases reported, and with 21 arrests. And that will show that from March coming to date, there's been some sort of an increase on these cases. Some of them might even go unreported. So we believe that, yes, there is a cause for concern that these cases are prevalent in the province.
Specifically in relation to the 5 suspects who appeared in court, at the time of their arrest, what project did they interrupt, and were they armed at the time?
When they were arrested, they were not armed. But as the police, with our intelligence and the info that we have, is that when suspects go to these construction sites, they either go there armed, or we go there with armed security. Yeah. The armed ones might not necessarily interfere with the project, but those that are being accompanied are the ones who will go there and do the talking. But if you are the manager of a construction site, you are talking to somebody who came with a group of armed people. Even though they are not talking to you, but they are there with rifles, you are intimidated already. Yeah. So these ones, they stopped a construction of a bridge, not very far from the police station, just down the road. But yes, as the police, we have to do what police do to ensure that if a crime is committed, we go and arrest. That's why they are in court.
How difficult is it to arrest these individuals who, at certain instances, want to almost brand themselves as political activists acting under the banner of radical economic transformation? Is that a difficulty for you as police, or you simply follow the law based on what the individual has done?
As the police, we look at the crime committed. We don't necessarily need to know the status of the person in society and what they do for a living and who they are. Once you commit crime, police should act on that. And in this instance, suspects have got some formations. Some call themselves business forums, some is concerned residents, community members. In some instances, they will say they'll go to the sites with councillors of the area. And that doesn't scare us as the police. Once you commit crime, we go for you. Because if we start looking at who is committing the crime, we might be biased. So we look at the law and follow the law to the T.
The research I referred to earlier, conducted by the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, their findings were that there were clear links between these so-called construction mafia and certain politicians in the province. Has there ever been a time when a politician was arrested for being linked to an extortion of a construction site working with these groupings?
We have in the past arrested people who call themselves politicians, because the police is quite difficult to describe a politician, because somebody will be a supporter of a party on the ground and call themselves politicians. They will go maybe to a construction site wearing a regalia of a political party, and they will call themselves politicians. We arrest them as suspects. How they call themselves, how they define themselves is something else. So we have in the past years arrested suspects who went to a construction site, who went to business sites and intimidate people there. How they call themselves for the police is quite immaterial. We just look at what you did and we charge you for that.
Yeah.
Because we don't necessarily want to know if they went there on behalf of a political party or they were acting on their own, wearing regalia of such a party. And as police, political party or whatever institution you come from, it's immaterial if the crime is committed. We look at the crime, we look at the suspects, arrest, take you to court, and in court, we don't charge you because of a political party, we charge you according to the crime committed.
Convictions? Have you seen any convictions specifically related to this crime of construction mafia or trying to extort projects for construction?
Previously, yes. And we are now focusing on the ones we have recently. We have cases which are still ongoing. From the cases I spoke about from last year, 16 of them are still court going. There are those that have been closed for different reasons. Some were closed as undetected, some were professionally withdrawn, and they're still under investigation. The ones that we have now, we are confident that we'll have conviction because of the evidence that we have. And at times, in fact, most of the time, we have been on record as the police that we should be called as and when they are at the crime scene, because that gives us more evidence that we found them at the scene and this is what they were doing. When these things happen and the culprits go and then it's reported later or maybe a week later, 2 weeks later, it demands a lot from the police to prove that case in court.
You mentioned earlier that there is a growing trend of this kind of crime in the province. I wonder how well organized are you as the police service in making sure that you tackle this crime and you tackle it effectively?
We are well organized. That's what we're talking about of suspects who are in court now. We took them there as the police because we arrested them. We are organized, and that's why we got a team which is focusing on this kind of cases, because we have come to realize that some people were not able to report these cases because they were scared and they were intimidated that they will be killed. People won't even say that will kill you. I'll come and say it might be your last day today. That says a lot, and somebody will just abandon the site and go. Somebody will just close the business and go. So we took it seriously. We have a task team that focuses on this kind of crimes, and that's why in the province you've got so many sites which were closed before, or there was no activity in the site. Now there's movement because police have assured those who are working there that we are on board. Should something happen, inform us, and they will act. And now that we've done this in Msunduzi, and a day after Msunduzi, there was another suspect arrested at Point, who went there trying to intimidate the site. The police got hold of that information. We went and arrested. Yeah. The site is continuing now.
As we taper down this conversation, political parties, I know it's a bit of a tough question because you say you don't identify an individual based on the party they belong to, but are there specific parties that are frequently linked, or a person might be wearing regalia of this political party and they are found at these sites? And I'm saying this primarily, again, to use what the language of the research that we are using here, that the individuals concerned are using the political spin of radical economic transformation. And this is the language of political parties that are well known in the country. This is the language of the African National Congress. That's where the roots of the so-called radical economic transformation stems from. So I know it's a tough question for you, but let's try to answer it. Are there parties that are frequently linked to these activities, or at least individuals who are said to belong to these parties?
We can say there are people who will go to these construction sites wearing regalia of a party. And yes, in most cases, it will be this particular party, of which the police, we don't really want to mention names because we are investigating such as well. Yeah. Because it could be a member of Party A going to disturb a construction site wearing regalia of Party B, primarily to disguise or to tarnish the image of political party A. So we say as police, let's look at the crime committed, like I said before. If this individual is a party member, then those responsible will engage them on the side. Yeah. That we believe that all parties want to govern. They want to win votes and govern. So if they involve themselves in criminal activities, how do they want to govern? If a party A comes to a site which they're building a bridge and stops that construction, but they say they want to deliver services, what kind of services? Or do they only want a certain people to deliver such services? Right. Because if we say we want to build the country, we must look at the building and not who is building. Unless that political party wants to own the construction sites themselves. And as the police, we want to see business going. We want to see roads being built. We want to see structures moving. And if somebody decides to go to those sites and stop them anyhow, yeah, already a crime is committed. And despite the color of the shirt you are wearing, we are going to arrest you as police.
just as a parting shot, if you are convicted for extortion, what is the sentence that goes with that? Just out of interest.
The sentence will be proportional to the amount of damage done. Because you're not only going to be charged for extortion. Let's say you went there with guns and we confiscate guns and they are illegal. That charge will be added as well. Possession of guns and ammunition and all those things. And if those firearms are found to have been used in other crimes, will be targeted as well. So the sentence will depend on each case, what other charges are involved. And whatever the charge that you face as for extortion, as the police, we appreciate that, because it shows that the crime of extortion is punishable by law.
Colonel Robert Netshiunda, spokesperson for the South African Police Service in KZN, thank you very much for your time. Well, part of the reason I asked that question has to do with part of exactly this research I have been reading through, Masa, and that is that extortion, the crime of extortion, may not necessarily be spoken about explicitly in the law, and therefore it may be a bit of a difficulty trying to attach a particular sentence. You've heard the Colonel saying that it is proportional to the crime. They will bring into the equation a number of factors. So this is an ongoing conversation. You've heard him talk about construction. And South Africa is a construction site, a massive construction site, as per the President's words. And so it's important that this crime is tackled with the speed that it is required. All right. Dumisang Glovu is next with your business news. Stay with us.